Thank you very much, Doug. And let me salute the work that Doug Guzman and the Defense Investment Agency have done in a very short period of time. You're going to hear about the impact of that. I'd also like to begin by acknowledging the leadership of the Minister of Industry, Mélanie Joly, and the Minister of National Defense, and the partnership, along with Secretary of State Fuhrer, the whole government, getting us to where we are. I want to salute my caucus colleagues, Cody Blois, Chris D'Entremont, Alana Hurdle, Braden Clark, and Jaime Batista. And I want to thank Premier Houston for being here, for his leadership, our partnership in energy, in defense, in finance, across a wide range of areas, building Nova Scotia strong, building Canada strong. You know, it was 3 months ago, not far from here. We had to be inside because it was raining unusually. It was 3 months ago. We were here, right here in Halifax, announcing that Canada had achieved NATO's 2% defense spending target for the first time since the fall of the Berlin Wall. And what we emphasized then was that this was not a ceiling for Canada's defense investment, it was a foundation. Because in a more dangerous and divided world, Canada must do more to defend ourselves, to secure our sovereignty, to support our allies. And today, we're building on that foundation in a way that makes us stronger, makes us more independent, more prosperous. The assumptions that had shaped decades of Canadian defense and foreign policy have been upended. Put another way, history is back with a vengeance. We face numerous and growing threats, from incursions in our Arctic to attacks in our cyberspace. The nature of warfare is changing rapidly, driven by a proliferation of drones, autonomous systems, hypersonic missiles, to name a few. The world's changed, Canada must change with it. Nowhere is that more evident than on our seas and in our Arctic. Our Arctic is becoming integral to the security of North America and to the security of NATO's western flank. Our frozen seas are increasingly open, bringing new threats and opportunities. Commercial vessels can increasingly transit our waters, shortening the journeys between continents, connecting us to the world's largest markets. Canada's allies are relying on our resources, including critical minerals, to secure their supply chains. More menacingly, authoritarian regimes are increasingly assertive. The burdens within our traditional alliances are shifting, and middle powers such as Canada are seeking greater strategic autonomy through partnerships amongst the like-minded. We must meet both the realities of a changing climate and that new geopolitical landscape. The sovereignty of our country, bounded by 3 oceans and the world's longest coastline, depends on our maritime capabilities, and I want to salute the women and men of Canada's Navy for leading that. We need to give them the right equipment, the right tools, the right capacities to do their jobs. And first, we need to be aware of what's in, what's over, and what's under our vast territory. And that's why we're investing in a new fleet of P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft. That's why we're investing in Arctic over-the-horizon radar. Secondly, we obviously need to be able to defend those waters, which is why we're building 15 River-class destroyers and an entirely new fleet of polar icebreakers and Arctic patrol vessels. And it's why we're here today, to announce an ambitious investment in new best-in-class submarines. Les sous-marins peuvent patrouiller sans être détectés, empêcher les adversaires d'accéder à notre territoire, recueillir des renseignements et projeter notre puissance dans des zones où aucun autre appareil ne peut opérer aussi efficacement. Depuis des décennies, le service sous-marinier du Canada s'acquitte de ses responsabilités avec brio. Toutefois, nos sous-marins de la classe Victoria arrivent à la fin de leur durée de vie opérationnelle. Seul l'un de ces 4 sous-marins est encore en état de naviguer une capacité insuffisante pour assurer une présence crédible sur plus de nos 3 côtes à la fois, c'est évident. Les marins qui servent à bord de ces appareils ont déployé des efforts extraordinaires pour maintenir cette capacité essentielle pour le Canada. Cependant, le dévouement à lui seul ne suffit pas à remplacer la modernisation. Today, as part of our commitments to defend Canada and to support our allies, I'm pleased to announce that Canada has selected TKMS as the preferred supplier for Canada's patrol submarine project. It's a huge step, but there's more to come. We will now enter into negotiations to procure up to 12 submarines. And that process is commercially sensitive. And as always, we will not negotiate in public so as to maintain the strongest possible position for Canada. What I can confirm today is that we have already provisioned for the costs of purchasing these submarines in our fiscal framework. It's already in the budget. And I can confirm that this procurement will be the largest in Canadian history, and that by design, and Doug Guzman just alluded to this very lightly, by design, this process will have far and away the greatest economic impact of any defense investment right across Canada. Now, we're preserving our options in the event that negotiations with TKMS are unsuccessful. We don't expect that, but if they are unsuccessful, Canada retains the right to designate Hanwha Ocean, currently the reserve supplier, as the preferred supplier and enter into negotiations with them. And I want to be clear that this was a difficult, close decision between 2 highly qualified suppliers. Both the TKMS and the Hanwha platforms met the capabilities, the very high capabilities of the Royal Canadian Navy, and both of them put forward strong proposals to maximize the benefits for Canadian workers and businesses. And on behalf of the government, on behalf of the Canadian people, I would like to thank both bidders for the extraordinarily thoughtful, comprehensive, and cooperative proposals that they and their government submitted. As dynamic, reliable, like-minded democracies, Germany, Norway, and the Republic of Korea are each critical strategic partners to Canada in this new world. Now, in the end, this decision was about choosing the absolute best platform and partnership to meet Canada's combined strategic, security, and economic interests. These are amongst the most advanced submarines ever built. The fuel cell air-independent propulsion system allows for more than 40 days fully submerged in near total silence. Combined with purpose-built combat capabilities, lithium-ion batteries for speed and rapid recharge, and unparalleled endurance under the ice, the TKMS delivers exceptional strength, stealth, and staying power. The TKMS platform is optimized for Arctic waters, and it's fully NATO interoperable, allowing it to communicate seamlessly, to share intelligence, and to carry out joint missions. The submarine is proven and capable. It's widely used by our allies. In fact, TKMS provides submarines to over 1/3 of the NATO alliance and is the leading submarine provider to navies around the world. And the type we're moving to purchase, the type 212 CD. Is that 212 or 212? 212. Okay, let's roll tape. Let's redo. Type 212 CD sub will operate seamlessly alongside our NATO partners, sharing training, maintenance, parts, technology, and even crews throughout their service lives. In addition, TKMS has offered to reallocate boats from the German and Norwegian orders, allowing for early delivery of the first 4 submarines by 2034. TKMS is the best choice for Canadian workers. It will directly create and sustain an ecosystem of well over 100,000 well-paying jobs across Canada. And in its initial phase, this project will put Canadians to work on the direct construction of these submarines. That means welders, pipe fitters, engineers designing the next generation systems, machinists building precision components, researchers advancing the technologies of tomorrow. As the project matures, we'll build the infrastructure to house this fleet, the shipyards, the jetties, the dry docks, and the support facilities that will employ ironworkers, electricians, pipe fitters, heavy equipment operators in communities right across Canada. And we'll build the capacity to maintain and sustain these submarines, creating long-term, stable careers for technicians, engineers, skilled tradespeople who will service this fleet for its long operational life. As a condition of the contract, fully 100% of the value of our investment must be matched with investment here in Canada. And well, as I said, we won't release the final contract price until the commercial negotiations are completed. We can confirm that this means Canada will receive tens of billions of dollars in investment from TKMS, investments that impact every region of the country, investments across key defense and industrial domains, including space, munitions, autonomous technologies, critical minerals, and R&D. So that means in Vancouver and Halifax, our best engineers will build a sustainment capability that will keep this fleet in the sea for decades. It means in Montreal, high-tech innovators who build simulators will train the sailors who serve aboard it. In Calgary, our clean energy companies will help power it. In Manitoba, our aerospace technicians will help build the torpedoes it carries. And students in our schools today, studying engineering, the trades, advanced technology, will graduate into a job market that's richer in opportunity. So these subs will strengthen our defense industrial base. They'll deepen our partnerships with trusted allies, and they'll open new opportunities for Canadian businesses in European supply chains. En effet, c'est bien plus qu'un simple projet d'approvisionnement. C'est un partenariat à long terme. Un partenariat qui servira de base à une nouvelle collaboration industrielle entre le Canada et l'Europe. Un partenariat qui permettra d'intégrer l'expertise canadienne dans certaines des chaînes d'approvisionnement de la défense les plus avancées au monde. Et un partenariat dans le cadre duquel le Canada ne sera pas simplement un client, mais un acteur contribuant à la sécurité collective et à la résilience économique de l'Alliance transatlantique. Now, I want to say a word about process, because this procurement is also historic for the ambition, speed, and discipline with which it was delivered. In less than a year, we've received, reviewed, and selected bids for the most consequential defense procurement in Canadian history, fully 5 years ahead of the original schedule. This is a powerful demonstration of Canada's new Defence Investment Agency in action, equipping our armed forces with the capabilities they need, when they need them, while strengthening our industrial base for the decades ahead. And it's similar to our recently announced plan to partner with Saab and Bombardier to build the Global Eye surveillance aircraft here in Canada. We're working with trusted allies to strengthen our armed forces while growing Canadian companies and creating tens of thousands of quality jobs. You know, we campaigned on the promise that we would fix Canada's chronic defense procurement problems. And today's announcement is another important step in that direction. Now, consistent with that strategy, as I've said, the project builds Canadian industrial capacity. It's a partnership with Canadian companies and workers. It creates sovereign sustainment, meaning Canada will maintain and support these capabilities for generations, maximizing those long-term impacts. And in a dangerous world, economic security and national security go hand in hand. Tonight, the Minister of National Defence and I will fly to Ankara for the NATO summit. Canada will arrive in a position to help lead the alliance. Our fiscal framework has already budgeted to achieve 4% of GDP in total defense spending by the end of this decade, ahead of NATO's 2035 timetable. That includes, as I said, provisioning for the costs of these submarines. In the Arctic and on NATO's western flank, Canada is taking a leadership role. These new submarines, combined with the world's second largest fleet of icebreakers, combined with new aircraft, new radar, more missiles and drones, better cyber defenses, new ports and air bases, are allowing Canada to assert our full sovereignty in the Arctic. We're matching these investments with increased presence. Through Operation Nanook at home, Exercise Cold Response in the High North, and Operation Reassurance in Latvia. We're amongst the largest contributors to the coalition of the willing for Ukraine. And through the Defense, Security and Resilience Bank, Canada will help mobilize affordable capital so democratic nations can build their defense industries faster and in the most cost-effective ways. Ainsi, le Canada montre au monde entier qu'il a pris la mesure de la situation, qu'il se mobilise pour y faire face et qu'il est prêt à montrer la voie. Nous réalisons nos dépenses militaires de manière à rendre le Canada plus sûr, plus indépendant et plus prospère. L'annonce aujourd'hui illustre parfaitement cette approche. To finish, nearly 4 decades ago, the Berlin Wall crumbled, ushering in hopes for a new era. An era that would lift the specter of nuclear confrontation, an era that would advance democracy, push tyranny into retreat, and make the world safer. L'espoir suscité par la fin de la guerre froide n'était pas sans fondement. L'Union soviétique s'est dissoute 2 ans plus tard. Des millions de personnes ont retrouvé la liberté. La démocratie s'est entendue. Des familles séparées par des murs et des barbelés ont été réunies. Et pourtant, l'optimisme de ce moment reposait sur des hypothèses dangereuses. Que l'histoire avant avait tranché en faveur de la liberté. Que les conflits majeurs ont des États puissants étaient choses de passé. Que la prospérité, elle seule, pouvait garantir notre sécurité. Pour nombre de pays, y compris le nôtre, ces hypothèses ont donné lieu à un certain relâchement. It's no coincidence that 1989, the year that the Berlin Wall collapsed, was the last time our defense spending was above 2%. Well, history has returned. And while a more just, stable, and prosperous world for all may yet come, it won't come without vigilance, resolve, and partnership amongst like-minded allies. So last October, we promised that the new Defense Investment Agency would accelerate timelines, strengthen partnerships, deliver better outcomes for our armed forces and our economy. In January, in Davos, I stated that Canada must work with like-minded middle powers at speed and scale to create mutual reliance, to expand our strategic capabilities, and to build greater strategic autonomy. In February here, we launched our new defense industrial strategy, a bold plan to get our armed forces what they need when they need it, to scale Canadian defense companies, and put hundreds of billions of dollars to work in strategic sectors of our economy. Well, we're turning those commitments into action, because tyranny is no longer in retreat, because the threats we and our allies face are real and varied, because they must be met head-on by a Canada prepared to defend our interests, protect our citizens, build our economy, and secure our future. And because we are Canada strong.